Hi everyone, my name is Abigail Crane, and for my informative speech topic, I chose to demonstrate how to do a men's haircut at home. This is my brother Russell who agreed to model for me. Um, Before I started college, I actually went to cosmetology school and graduated with a cosmetology license. From then on, I worked in a salon for about a year, so I got pretty good at doing men's haircuts and thought it could be useful to teach you all how to do a simple haircut at home. So here we go. So the first thing that you would want to do anytime you're doing a haircut is protect their neck. I'm using a cape. If you don't have a linen cape like this, you can always just use a towel that you don't really care about. So once we have the cape on, I always make sure to brush through the hair, especially if they're not the type of person that brushes their hair very often. Just to make sure everything's smoothed out and kind of laid out, so that when you start, you're not cutting unevenly. So the most important thing to understand when going into doing a men's clipper cut is the size of the guards that you're using. So here I have a 1.5 guard, which is the shortest one that I'm going to be using today, a 2, a 3, and then a 4. And the higher the number is, the longer the hair is going to be left. So what I like to do is start with the longest and then move down to the shortest. So I'm going to start with him by taking the number 4 and I'm going to just go straight up. Make sure your angle stays the same while you are going up the head. You don't want to tilt up or down. You want to stay straight. And once we kind of have this part where we want it, we can work from there. So as you can see, I didn't go above his temple area. I left the hair there pretty long because this is what's called a disconnected haircut. You're not trying to necessarily blend this top into the sides. It's okay to have this come over a little bit. That's usually like how he likes to wear it. Not everyone does that, but for these purposes, that's what I'm going to show you today. So we're going to work up to down. So I'm leaving this whole top part exactly how it is, and I'm going to work downwards to make the bottom the shortest. So the next guard I'm going to take is the number 3. To remind you, we used the number 4 as our first guard. So I'm going down 1. And we're going to go just below that line that I left there. And feel free to mess with their ear. It doesn't hurt to pin their ear back. It just keeps you from accidentally cutting them. And you're just going to try to blend that as best as you can into that first top line that we created. Get your head straighter a little bit. Okay, so I'm happy with where that's at. Unfortunately, the lighting in here is a little bit bad, so you can't see super closely, but I promise it'll come together at the end. Okay, next we're going in with the number 2. That's the next one down from the 3. And we're going to do the same thing, but a little bit lower. And that's basically the whole haircut, is just doing the same thing over and over again until you finally get a fade. And you probably see that this is getting a little bit shorter as I go. Okay. Same thing again. There's not really much more I need to explain. Since I just used the 2, I'm going down to the 1.5. As you get shorter, the blend becomes harder to create, so you want to take half steps instead of full steps. So that's why the 1.5 guard is really helpful, because it's not a full step down from a 2. And you can see this really doesn't take a whole lot off, but it still does help with that initial blend that we're trying to create. Another thing I like to do is take just the edge of my clipper, and you can go sideways and go up, and that kind of creates little shorter pieces that blend up into the longer ones, and that helps the overall blend of the haircut. So you can see I'm doing that right now by just taking this edge and kind of going up. It's not taking a lot of hair off, but it's helping that blend a little bit. Okay, the last guard that I'm going to use is the half guard, and I'm going to make sure that this lever here, instead of being pushed up, we're going to push it down, and you can see how this blade moves further down. That means that your blade is not going to cut as short. The farther up you have your lever, the shorter your blade will cut, and the closer the blade is to the guard. So I want to make sure this is all the way down, because I don't want it to be as short as the guard itself is. And this is where you can kind of see the blend starting to happen at the bottom there. We're going to take care of this top next, because obviously this is really not blended yet. You can only see this part starting to kind of blend together. The last step with the clippers is going to be just kind of lining everything up, because he gets a lot of hair on his neck, so we want to shave that off and kind of make this end of his cut clean. So I do that by just taking my clippers facing downwards, and I'll create a line there. And I will also do this all around his ear. Make sure you're really pinning that ear down to avoid cutting them. And then like I showed earlier, I like to take the edge of my clippers once again and kind of just dig into this line I created here to soften it out a little bit. Okay, that's it for the clippers for now. This cut would probably be best described as like a taper fade or a drop fade because I don't take a lot off of the back here. I like to leave this a little bit longer, but the sides do come up a bit, and they're closer to his ear. So the next step is to grab your scissors. This part can be a little bit more tricky. Uh-oh. Where did my scissors go? Hold on, I have a spare in here. Okay, I got my spare. This part can be a little bit tricky, but the concept is not hard to understand. And once you understand it, it's pretty simple. So you're gonna brush all of this remaining hair at the top down. As you can see, that's really not blending. It's pretty blunt. And so what we're gonna wanna do is section this off at right where the head starts to curve. And everyone's head is different, so this isn't gonna be in the same place for everyone. But we wanna section that off as best as we can and make it a nice clean line. And I have these handy little clips here that I'm going to use to hold that out of the way. So what you're gonna do with this hair that's left over is you're gonna grab your comb into the bottom, and then you're going to tilt your comb outwards like that. Outwards. So once I have this outwards, you're going to go in and just cut that. And you'll see it immediately starts to blend a little bit better. Once this part of the hair is blended into the side, you don't need to worry about the top because the top is naturally going to fall on this instead of over it, if that makes sense. So this is the most important part to kind of blend. And then once you have that done, you can kind of do whatever you want with the top. You can even leave it alone, and you know, if you want to keep it longer, you can do that. But this side here at the curve of the head is a really important spot to make sure that your haircut looks seamless and blended. So I'm just going to keep going until that looks even. A lot of times it is just a judgment call. There is kind of a set way that a lot of hairdressers do it, but I would say most of the time you kind of have to go off of the type of hair someone has, the shape of their head. So it's really different for everyone, and that's why it's important to be able to make adjustments, you know, according to each person's differences. Okay, so now that we have that fade done, obviously he has bed head here a little bit, but you can kind of see he likes to keep his top part of his hair really nice and long, and he has like curls and they like to go crazy everywhere, but he really likes this side to be fresh and clean. And so that is how you perform a simple men's haircut at home. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comment area or feel free to email me. Thank you.